What if I told you the wealth you seek is not in the future, but already here, waiting for you to claim it, not through effort, but through assumption? Yes, assumption, not hope, not wishing, but the inner conviction that what you desire is already yours. The month doesn't matter, the time is only symbolic, but you are the operant power. And May can be your turning point. You must begin by letting go of what your senses report. Look not to your bank account or the opinions of others. These are shadows of previous beliefs. Instead, turn inward and dare to feel wealthy now. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. This is the first shift, abandoning outer facts in favor of inner truth. Next, bring clarity to your desire. Define wealth on your own terms. Is it freedom? Is it ease? Is it luxury? You must give shape to the formless through imagination. Vague wishes produce vague results, but a clear, vivid picture, backed by feeling, will mold reality to fit it. You cannot long for wealth while dwelling in lack. The two cannot occupy the same state. So assume the state of wealth as already fulfilled. Walk, talk, breathe, and live as if it were already so. This is not make-believe. This is creative belief. Speak inwardly to yourself in ways that reflect your desired outcome. I am wealthy. Money flows to me freely. I always have more than enough. Do not just say it, feel it as truth. This is the discipline of self-talk, the internal dialogue that sculpts your outer world. Be specific. As you fall asleep each night, imagine your life as it would be if the shift had already happened. The house, the car, the bank balance, the peace of mind. Feel the relief, feel the gratitude. Night after night, this practice of assuming in the drowsy state moves you across invisible lines. Doubt will arise, old stories will try to pull you back. But your job is not to fight them. Your job is to persist in the new state. Your assumption, if lived in faithfully, will harden into fact. May is just a doorway. Your belief is the key. And finally, detach from how it will unfold. Let go of control. That's not your role. Your role is to dwell in the end, to claim the feeling, to rest in the knowing. Life will orchestrate the means. Trust the unseen bridge of incidents that begins to form the moment you shift your inner state. So I ask you now, will you dare to assume? Will you live the wealth within even before it shows up? Because the moment you do, it starts moving toward you. And the shift, it will not be gradual. It will not be logical. It will be instant. Because reality bends to the one who lives as though it is already done. You have been taught since birth to believe in the evidence of your senses, to accept what you can touch, taste, see, and hear as reality. And yet, that very acceptance is the chain that binds you to the present conditions you wish to escape. As long as you allow your outer world to dictate your inner state, you remain a prisoner to it. But the moment you reverse that flow, when you dare to let your inner assumption override the so-called facts, you step into the power that has always been yours. You step into creation. You must understand, what you call facts are nothing but the solidified remains of past assumptions. They are echoes of prior inner states. You are not observing a fixed world. You are observing the reflection of your mind's previous activity. When you look at your bank balance and say, this is the truth, you are declaring that the past is your master. But when you say, I know this is the result of what I once believed, and I now believe something new, then you begin to reshape your destiny. This is not about denial. You are not pretending the balance is different. You are not lying to yourself, you are recognizing a higher truth, that the cause is not in the world, but within you, that the screen of space is only the projection of your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions. Change the film in the projector, and the image must change. But do not try to scratch or paint the screen. Do not fight with circumstances. That is the way of the unawakened. To abandon outer facts is to know with confidence that your senses are not the authors of truth. They are the followers. They will, in time, report faithfully what you assume inwardly. But they are always behind, always delayed. They reflect, they do not create. Therefore, the wise do not react to the visible world, they act upon their invisible convictions. And through that quiet inner certainty, they bend the visible to match the invisible. You may feel resistance. The mind, conditioned by years of logic and habit, will scream, but look at what is, look at what's real. And yet reality is a fluid thing, a malleable mirror. Do not argue with the mind. Do not resist it. Simply shift your attention. Feel the new state. Assume the new reality. And let the world catch up. This is why so many fail to see the change. They look too soon. They plant the seed of a new assumption and dig it up the next morning to see if it's growing. They water the field with doubt. But a seed knows what to do when left undisturbed. So too does an assumption. Let it grow in the quiet soil of belief. Let it live in the atmosphere of faith. Every day you must choose. Will I react to the outer world, or will I act from within? Will I allow the facts to determine my feelings, or will I let my feelings determine the facts? The former is bondage. The latter is freedom. You cannot serve two masters. If you wish to transform your life, you must ignore appearances and persist in the unseen. This is not stubbornness. This is not delusion. This is understanding. A higher law is at work. Just as gravity is not changed by disbelief, the creative law of assumption does not require agreement from the world to begin functioning. The moment you persist in the inner state, the outer world begins to reconfigure, quietly, invisibly, inevitably. But it does so on its own terms, not yours. So you must not watch the clock. You must not seek signs. You must live the result before it arrives. To abandon outer facts is to walk by faith and not by sight. To claim the feeling of wealth even when the world calls you poor. To say, I am, before the world agrees. It is an inward revolution, a complete reordering of authority. No longer does the news or the market or the balance sheet dictate your mood. You rise above them. You use them not as facts but as evidence of what once was. And you declare, that was me then, but I am a new man now, and the world must reflect the new man. This takes practice. This takes vigilance. For the world is persistent in echoing the old, but you must be more persistent in holding the new. Each time the old calls you, you answer with silence. You turn your gaze inward. You enter the state again. You feel the joy, the relief, the freedom of already having, and you walk in it, not as a wish, not as hope, but as something done. You do not need to convince others. You do not need to explain. They will see in time. Your outer world will declare your inner change long before your lips do. So speak little of what you are becoming. Instead, become it. Wear it in your mind. Dress yourself inwardly in success. Carry yourself with the dignity of the wealthy, not arrogantly, but knowingly. You will see shifts, at first subtle, then dramatic. The right opportunity, the delayed payment suddenly released, the idea that turns to gold, the meeting that changes your path. But it does not begin out there. It begins the moment you say, I will no longer take instructions from the world. I will give them. This month is not magical. It is symbolic. It is a permission slip to begin now, not later, not when the conditions improve, but now while the evidence still denies your claim. That is the power. That is the test. To assume in the absence of proof is to activate the law, to feel it real, is to set it in motion. And once set in motion, nothing can stop it, except your own doubt. So begin now, not with action, not with struggle, but with assumption, with inner silence, with unwavering conviction. The facts will protest, but they are old. Their time has passed. What matters now is what you are willing to feel is true. Now. Because now is the only moment creation happens. And in this moment, you are free. Everything begins in the unseen. Before any building stood, it was an idea. Before any song was heard, it was felt in silence. Before wealth appeared in form, it was conceived in the invisible realm of thought. The formless precedes the formed, and the tool by which the formless becomes shaped, the unseen becomes seen, is imagination. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is not daydreaming for escape. It is the creative force by which all things are made. Without imagination, there would be nothing. No invention, no progress, no vision, no future. It is not something reserved for artists or poets. It belongs to all, and it shapes the life of each person according to the way it is used. To imagine wealth is not to wish for it. Wishing implies separation. Wishing keeps you in the place of lack. Imagination, rightly used, does not long for what is not. It claims what already is in the unseen. When you imagine correctly, you are not trying to create something from nothing. You are selecting from a realm that already contains everything. You must understand that the formless is not less real than the formed. It is more real, for it is the source. The world you see is nothing more than imagination made solid. You walk through hardened thoughts, your own and those of others. So if you desire to change the world around you, you must begin by shaping. Do not say, I will imagine when I have time. Do not wait until you feel inspired. You are always imagining, whether you know it or not. Every reaction, every fear, every hope is an act of imagination. The question is not whether you are using imagination, but how you are using it. Are you shaping your life with intention or by default? And to give shape to the formless is to make the invisible scene so vivid in your mind that it begins to feel real. So real that the outer world begins to conform to it. This is not a one-time act. This is a practice, a discipline, a reordering of inner priorities. You must learn to live inwardly in the reality you desire, even when the outer world offers no evidence of its existence. This is not deception. This is creation. You are not pretending something is true when it is not. You are claiming it as true in a deeper, higher sense. You are planting the seed of belief, and belief, when sustained, produces results with mathematical certainty. When you imagine wealth, do not merely see money or possessions. These are effects, they come and go. Instead, imagine the feeling that wealth brings, the sense of ease, of security, of joyful freedom. See yourself walking with confidence, speaking with clarity, giving generously, resting without worry. Make the inner scene as complete as possible. Include the sounds, the textures, the environment, the people. Feel the air of abundance. Let the atmosphere of that imagined life wrap around you until it feels more natural than your current state. You are not trying to force the outer world to change. You are changing your relationship to reality. You are saying, this is who I am now, and the world must echo that belief, not because you wish it to, but because it cannot do otherwise. Every structure must follow its blueprint, and your imagination is the blueprint of your life. If the blueprint is vague, the result will be vague. If the blueprint is flawed, the result will reflect the flaw. But if the design is clear, detailed, rich with life and emotion, then the result will reflect that clarity. This is why idle affirmations often fail. Words without feeling are empty. But when you imagine, when you see and feel the new state, as if it were already true, You impress it upon the deeper mind, and what is impressed must express. Take time each day, especially before sleep, to enter the inner workshop. Close your eyes and turn away from the world. Let the chatter of the day fade. In that silence, begin to form the image of your wealth. See yourself as already arrived. Don't strive, don't try to make it happen. Simply enter the state and rest in it. Feel the joy of completion. Let the scene unfold naturally, again and again, until it becomes familiar. You are not dependent on anything outside of you. The economy, your history, your surroundings, none of these dictate your destiny. Only your inner state does. And that state is shaped by imagination. You are the sculptor. The raw material is unseen, but it is responsive. It takes the form you give it. And once it has form, it moves into expression. This process is not bound by time. Some things come quickly, others slowly, depending on your consistency and your detachment. But all things imagined with belief and felt with conviction must in time appear. They do not come by chance, they come by law. Let imagination become your daily practice, not just a moment of wishful thinking. Train yourself to turn inward when doubt arises. When worry appears, replace it with a new inner image. When fear speaks, answer with vision. You are not at the mercy of external forces. You are not waiting for life to happen. You are making it happen. Inwardly, you are free to choose any state. You are free to give shape to any outcome. The moment you imagine it clearly and feel it deeply, it begins to take on life. That life will draw to itself all that is needed for its fulfillment. People, events, opportunities, they will come, not because you chased them, but because they were drawn to the shape you gave the formless. So never underestimate the power of your inner world. Never think that imagination is secondary. It is primary. It is the cause behind every effect. What you imagine today, with persistence, you will live tomorrow in form. And the most beautiful part is this: no one can take this power from you. It is yours. It has always been yours. All that remains is for you to use it wisely, consistently, and with full trust in the unseen forces that shape your world from the inside out. There are universal laws that do not bend for anyone, not because they are cruel or rigid, but because they are precise. They operate with the same certainty as gravity, whether you understand them or not. One of these laws is this: you cannot occupy two states at once. Just as you cannot be asleep and awake in the same moment, you cannot assume wealth while emotionally rooted in lack. The two are opposite poles. To cling to one is to deny the other. You may say, but I want to be wealthy. I desire abundance. I think about it all the time. And yet, if you examine closely, what most people call desire is actually the reinforcement of absence. They think of money, but with frustration. They visualize success, but with tension. They say they believe, but deep down they feel unworthy or uncertain or tired of waiting. So what they really hold is not the state of wealth, but the emotional atmosphere of its opposite. That is why nothing changes. To long for something is to confess you do not have it. And what you do not have in your inner world, you cannot hold in the outer. This is the secret. It is not your outer condition that must first shift. It is your dwelling place within. Where are you living internally? Are you waking each day in the awareness of wealth or in the complaint of its absence? Are you speaking from the mountaintop or from the valley of someday? The answer is found not in your words, but in your feelings. You may speak affirmations all day long, but if your emotional state is still rooted in fear, anxiety, and waiting, then you are still dwelling in lack. It is your emotional allegiance that determines your reality, not your wishes, not your hopes, not your public declarations. To dwell on wealth means you move differently. You speak with calm assurance. You feel the peace of having. You are not rushed. You are not desperate. You give freely, not because you are reckless, but because your inner being knows there is more than enough. And this is not something you fake, it is something you feel. And that feeling is cultivated through assumption. Assumption is the bridge between where you are and where you desire to be. But you cannot assume a state while clinging emotionally to its opposite. That is like planting a seed while stomping on the soil. It cannot grow. The environment is hostile to the very thing you're trying to nurture. You must become deeply honest with yourself. Examine where you are emotionally residing. Do you spend more time imagining problems or imagining solutions? Are you investing more energy in recounting past disappointments than in embodying future success? You cannot serve both. To serve lack is to delay wealth. To feed doubt is to choke out belief. And to wait for the world to change before you do is to hand over your power to the very thing you wish to transcend. The state of wealth must be entered now, not when the money arrives, not when the job is offered, not when the opportunity appears, now. In silence, in stillness, in imagination, you must sit quietly and feel the relief as if it were already yours. You must practice the inner conversation of one who already possesses all they need. And you must do this not once, not occasionally, but consistently until the new state feels more natural than the old. This is not about pretending. Pretending still holds the awareness that it's not real. You are not pretending. You are choosing. You are selecting a new state and giving it your attention, and attention is what gives life. What you persist in mentally, you give permission to manifest physically. Some may say, but how can I feel wealthy when I'm surrounded by bills, when my account is low? That question is itself rooted in the state of lack. It is like saying, how can I feel warm while it is still cold? The answer is, by kindling a fire within, by creating the atmosphere inwardly that you want to experience outwardly. Wealth is not just numbers. It is a vibration, a state of being, a mental home. And your world responds not to your conditions, but to your inner climate. Change the climate, and the scenery will follow. This requires discipline, not effort, but focus. You must turn away from appearances, not to deny them, but to refuse their power over your inner state. You are not ignoring reality. You are creating a new one. And that new reality begins with a single decision: to stop dwelling in lack. You will be tempted to go back. You will want to check, to compare, to doubt. But those are habits, not truths. Old states trying to reclaim your attention. Do not fight them. Do not argue. Simply return to the state of wealth. Feel it again. Wear it in the silence of your mind. Let it become your new normal. And as it becomes natural within, it must become natural without. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. You are aligning your emotional state with your desired outcome. And the universe, life, the law, the pattern of existence, always conforms to the inner image. Always. You must reach the point where the presence of wealth within feels so real, so complete, that the outer world becomes a mere reflection. You no longer look to it for confirmation, you carry the confirmation within. You live from it, you speak from it, and in doing so you have shifted states. When you live in wealth, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, then physical wealth must follow, for it has no choice. It is not the cause, but the effect, and effects are bound to their causes. So do not wait, do not long, do not say someday. Say now, feel now, be now. Spart lespino, for only one state can occupy you in each moment, and the one you dwell in is the one that becomes your world. Every moment, whether you realize it or not, you are engaged in a conversation with yourself. This conversation does not stop when you fall silent. It continues beneath the surface, in your assumptions, in your reactions, in the quiet tone that colors your thoughts. This is your self-talk. It is the most constant companion you will ever have, and it is also the most powerful sculptor of your external world. You may think creation comes from action, from external work, from effort, but all action is secondary. All work is the outpicturing of inner dialogue. The reality you live is not built by hands, but by words, internal words, spoken again and again until they become belief, and belief becomes experience. Most people are careless with their inner speech. They let old programming run unchecked. They rehearse failure. They argue with imagined enemies. They complain silently while smiling outwardly. And they wonder why their lives remain bound to the same cycles. But the outer world is not deciding for them. It is merely echoing the story they are telling themselves. Your self-talk is not harmless. It is formative. It is causative. It is creative. You cannot speak defeat inwardly and find victory outwardly. You cannot whisper limitation to yourself and expect expansion to meet you at your door. You cannot declare yourself poor in your heart and receive wealth in your hands. To change your world, you must change your speech. Not the words you say to others, but the words you say to yourself when no one else is listening. This is where transformation begins. Not with action, not with effort, but with intention, applied to thought. You are always talking yourself into a state. You may talk yourself into fear or into confidence, into doubt or into certainty, into scarcity or into abundance. The world simply mirrors what you have accepted within, and the voice you use to describe your life becomes the mold from which your experience is poured. You must become aware of this voice, not to judge it, but to guide it. Not to silence it, but to train it. The voice within is not your enemy. It is your tool, and it will obey whatever tone you choose. Speak to yourself as the person you intend to be, and the world must reshape to fit the character you have accepted. This is not wishful thinking. It is the law of identity. What you consistently identify with in thought becomes substance. If you want to change the shape of your life, you must change the narrative of your mind. The new story must be told within, again and again, until it becomes the only story that feels true. Say to yourself, not as affirmation, but as inner declaration, I am wealthy, I am secure, I am always taken care of. And do not say it once or only when it is convenient. Say it in moments of doubt. Say it when the evidence appears to contradict it. Say it until your inner ear accepts it, until your emotional body feels its reality, until your imagination begins to form around it. Your inner voice holds more power than any outside condition. It is not a reaction, it is a command. It sets the tone for your entire vibration. Speak low, and your life lowers to match it. Speak high, and you are lifted. Speak with confidence, and doors open. Speak with fear, and they remain shut, not by the world, but by your own internal frame. You must become the guardian of your mental speech. Let no sentence linger that is unworthy of your future. Let no phrase remain that would sabotage your desire. Cast it out, not with force, but with replacement. Replace every I can't with I am capable. Replace it's hard with it's happening. Replace I hope with I claim. This is not vanity, this is alignment. You are aligning the word within with the world you wish to create. The one who shapes the inner voice becomes the master of their outer experience. There is no separation between what you say inwardly and what you experience outwardly. There is only time, and time is shortened each time you persist in truth. When you wake in the morning, begin not with thought, but with speech. Say silently, this is a day of increase. I rise in wealth. I walk in power. I am blessed beyond measure. As you move through your day, return to this language. Let it be your anchor. When old habits arise, meet them with new phrases. Speak as the man or woman who already has what they once wanted. Let that tone become the only one you hear. And when you lie down at night, do not drift in silence. Use those final moments to impress the new story upon your deeper self. Speak calmly, gently, with certainty. I have all that I need. Everything is unfolding in my favor. I am already the one I chose to be. These are not words of striving, they are words of assumption. They are the language of one who knows their world is shaped by their word. Speak not as one trying to change the world, speak as one who has already changed within. The world follows thought, and thought follows speech. Guide the speech, and the rest will align. You may not see change instantly, but you will feel a shift. The old voice will lose its grip. The new tone will take root, and slowly the outer world will begin to match what has been rehearsed within. This is the quiet work, the sacred labor, the discipline of inner speech. And though it is silent to the ears of others, it is loud in its effect. It is written in the events that follow, the people who appear, the opportunities that rise. These are not accidents. They are echoes, echoes of your self-talk, echoes of the inner word made flesh. So speak wisely, speak intentionally, speak faithfully. For what you say within, you will surely live without. There is a doorway between wakefulness and sleep, a sacred passage where the conscious mind releases its grip and the subconscious stands open and receptive. Most people drift through this moment without care, carrying the burdens of the day into sleep, unaware that they are planting the seeds of tomorrow in the soil of the night. But this moment is not meant for complaint or repetition of what is. It is meant for creation. It is meant for direction. What you impress upon yourself in this drowsy state is more powerful than anything you say in the brightness of day. In this tender threshold, when the body is still, the mind relaxed, and the noise of the world has softened, you are closest to the invisible power that governs for. This is the time to take your desired state and impress it deeply upon the subconscious, not by force, but by quiet acceptance. You do not need to argue with what exists. You do not need to resist the facts. You simply choose to dwell in a new reality and allow yourself to feel the experience of already having. Imagination is not limited to fantasy. It is the workshop of the soul, the blueprint of experience. And the hours before sleep are the most potent for building this blueprint. It is here that you must choose to dwell in the reality of your wish fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not in the distant future, but now, as though it were already yours. Ask yourself gently, what would it feel like if I were already living the life I desire? Do not answer with words, answer with feeling. Sink into that emotional atmosphere as if it were your home. Feel the security of wealth, feel the ease of abundance, feel the freedom of already being who you choose to be. Let the inner world take shape, not by thinking, but by feeling. This is not about controlling thought. It is about surrendering to a new reality. Let the scene come to you. Let the experience unfold naturally in your imagination, just as a memory might. But let it be a memory of the future, a scene so vivid, so emotionally alive, that your body responds to it, that your heart believes it, that your spirit claims it. You do not need to visualize every detail. You only need to enter the feeling. The scene is merely the container. The feeling is the power. You might see yourself shaking someone's hand after a successful deal, or resting in a beautiful home, or seeing your bank account overflow. But whatever you choose, let it be simple, repeatable, and full of the emotional signature of your desire fulfilled.
Oh, repetition is key. Not mechanical repetition, but emotional repetition. Return to the same scene night after night until it becomes more natural to you than the present circumstances. Until you no longer wish for it, you live in it. The outer world may remain unchanged for a time, but the inner world will have shifted, and that shift is the beginning of all transformation. The subconscious mind does not reason, it does not analyze, it accepts, it receives, and it creates according to what it has been impressed with. That impression is most easily made in the moments just before sleep, when the gates of resistance are down and the imagination flows freely.
If you fall asleep in the state of lack, in the feeling of not yet, you reinforce that state. If you fall asleep worrying about money, you carry that impression into the deepest parts of your being, and it becomes your directive. But if you fall asleep in the state of already having, if you rest in the feeling of abundance, then abundance becomes your command. This is why the nightly routine is so important, not in ritual, but in direction. The way you go to sleep is the way you communicate with the infinite. It is the final word of the day, the seed dropped into the fertile earth of your subconscious. Guard it, honor it, use it wisely. Let your final thoughts not be of problems, but of promises fulfilled. Let your final feelings be those of gratitude, not longing. Even if your outer world screams the opposite, dare to feel the joy of completion. It is not deception. It is preparation. You are preparing your consciousness to receive. This preparation is not effortful. You do not need to strain. You do not need to manipulate. You simply relax into the state. Let the image play in your mind like a dream you've chosen to return to. Feel the softness of the bed beneath you as the softness of your new life embracing you. Feel yourself resting not in hope, but in peace. The peace of knowing it is already done. Do not rush. There is no race. Even if you only hold the state for a few minutes before sleep, that is enough. The intensity of feeling outweighs the length of time, and over time it becomes a habit, a new pattern, a new identity. You begin to live from the end, not because you are trying to make it happen, but because you believe it already has.
This belief reshapes you, and as you are reshaped inwardly, the outer world must follow. It may come through opportunities, unexpected meetings, inspired ideas, or seemingly random events. But it will come not because you chased it, but because you became it.
Each night, before you drift into sleep, return to the inner home of your desire. Lay your head upon the pillow of fulfillment. Rest your heart in the assurance of having. Let your body sink into the reality of wealth already received. And as you do, you are not just dreaming, you are directing. You are not just imagining, you are impressing. You are not just wishing, you are becoming. Because in that sacred moment between waking and sleeping, you are closest to the truth that you are always creating, and sleep is not the end of your day, it is the beginning of your world. Every time you assume a new identity, every time you dare to step beyond the facts of your current condition and enter a higher state of being, something in you will resist. It may come softly, as a whisper of insecurity, or it may come violently, in the form of fear, setbacks, and emotional unrest. This is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is proof that you are leaving behind what you once were. The mind is a creature of habit. It has been conditioned by repetition, by experience, by the words of others, and the echoes of your own inner dialogue. When you begin to change your self-concept, when you assume the state of wealth, confidence, abundance, or freedom, the old identity will not quietly dissolve. It will fight for its survival. It will return with memories, with feelings of lack, with the same internal script that once kept you small. But do not mistake this for failure. This is the natural tension of transformation. You are not being tested by life. You are simply facing the momentum of your previous assumptions. And your role now is not to argue, not to resist with force, but to remain faithful to the new state you've chosen. Persistence is not about forcing your mind to believe something against its will. It is about continually returning to the truth you have claimed. You do not need to silence the old thoughts. You only need to stop feeding them. Every time you bring your attention back to the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you withdraw life from the former story. You weaken its hold. You begin to dissolve its reality. Do not expect the old story to disappear overnight. It was built slowly, through repeated emotional attention, and now it will be dismantled the same way, not through anger or denial, but through consistent re-identification. Every time you choose to dwell in the new state, even for a few seconds, you are carving new grooves in consciousness, and what is impressed repeatedly will express inevitably. You may feel doubt. That is natural. You are not required to feel perfect faith at all times. What you are required to do is persist in the feeling of the desired state more often than not. Doubt is not the enemy. Doubt is simply a byproduct of unfamiliarity. The more you inhabit the new state, the less room doubt has to grow. Old feelings will surface. They may come in waves. You may suddenly remember every past failure, every time something didn't work out. You may feel foolish for believing something new is possible. These thoughts are not you, they are remnants, leftover energy from a version of yourself that no longer holds the power, unless you give it back. When these feelings rise, do not wrestle with them. Observe them. Let them pass. But do not accept their message as final. Say to yourself, yes, I remember when I believed that, but I no longer do. Then return quietly, calmly, surely, to the state of the wish fulfilled. Breathe it in, rest in it, reclaim it as yours. This work requires vigilance, not in fear, but in commitment. The world around you may continue to echo the old story for a time. That is not evidence of failure. That is simply the final outpicturing of what you once believed. And if you no longer react, if you stand still in the new state, those echoes will fade. They have no source anymore. They are empty reflections. You must come to understand that persistence is the secret ingredient. Without persistence, imagination is a fleeting dream. With it, imagination becomes a seed that grows. Do not expect the seed to sprout the next day, but do water it daily with attention. Nurture it with feeling. Protect it with silence. You are not just entertaining a new idea. You are becoming a new person. And every shift in identity will feel unfamiliar at first. That is why the old self will cry out. It will say, this isn't who you are. You've never been wealthy. You've never had success like this. And you will say, not to argue, but to affirm, that was true once, but it is no longer my truth. I have chosen something new. This choice must be made not just once, but again and again, until it becomes second nature, until you wake up thinking from the new state, until your reactions align with your vision, until the emotional tone of your day reflects what you've claimed in imagination. You are building a new world within. And every moment you spend in that new world, you shift the foundation of the outer one. You are not fixing your reality, you are replacing it. Replacing one version of self with another, one state with a higher state, one assumption with a deeper truth. You may fall back. That is fine. Do not judge the stumble. Simply return. Always return. The return is your power. The return is the act of creation. Each return plants the new state deeper. Each return builds the bridge. And one day, seemingly without warning, the old story will lose its voice. The doubt will be replaced by quiet confidence. The world will begin to reflect not what you've been reacting to, but what you've been dwelling in. It will respond not to what you said out loud, but what you accepted silently. So when the doubt comes, smile. It only means the old is losing ground. When the fear returns, Recognize it as a shadow. You are walking in a new light now. And that light, the light of your persistent assumption, will banish all remnants of the past. Relatedness. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be faithful. Faithful to your vision, faithful to the feeling, faithful to the version of yourself that already has what you seek. And through that faithfulness, the new reality is born, not from struggle, but from silent, unwavering persistence in the state you have chosen to call your own. Everything you now experience was once an invisible assumption. Your current circumstances, your relationships, your financial condition, even your self-image. They were all once ideas, feelings, inner agreements you made with yourself, whether consciously or not. The world around you is not a separate entity acting upon you. It is a mirror, faithfully reflecting your sustained inner state. And what you assume with feeling and repetition must move from the unseen. It is law. An assumption is not just a passing thought. It is not a hopeful wish. It is a silent conviction, accepted as true in the absence of evidence. It is the inner claim that something already is, even when every sense tells you otherwise. To assume is to occupy a state of being, to feel from it, to think from it, and to live from it, regardless of current appearances. It is to say, this is who I am now, not with arrogance, but with inner certainty. Most people reverse the process. They wait for the world to confirm their desire before they claim it as true. They wait for the wealth to show before they feel prosperous. They wait for the opportunity to come before they feel chosen. But waiting is the language of doubt. Waiting is passive. It gives power to conditions. Creation does not come from waiting. It comes from assuming. It comes from acting inwardly as if the outer world has already conformed. To live in assumption is not to ignore facts, but to recognize that facts are old, frozen forms of past beliefs. They do not define what is possible, they merely describe what was. When you live in the assumption of a new reality, you no longer argue with appearances. You simply know that appearances are transient, but assumptions, when held with consistency, shape what appears next. This is where faith enters. Not blind faith, but creative confidence. You assume not because you see, but because you choose. You assume not because others agree, but because you understand that your world bends to your inner stance. The assumption is the seed. The fact is the fruit. And no seed bears fruit the moment it is planted. But once planted, it grows. Quietly, steadily, inevitably. You must be willing to live in the state of the wish fulfilled without any immediate proof. This is the test, not of your worth, but of your alignment. If you can remain faithful to the unseen will harden into form. It will move through people, circumstances, events, through means you could never predict. But it will move because the law demands it. Your only task is to persist in the feeling of already being that which you desire to be. Let the outside world do what it will for now. It cannot help but change in response. You are not bound to conditions. You are bound only to the assumption you choose to hold. And once held faithfully, it becomes your new condition. This is not about pretending. It is not about positive thinking for its own sake. It is about embodying a state with such depth that the outer world must bow to your conviction. You are not trying to change the world, you are changing your relationship to yourself. And the world reflects that change automatically. Assumption must be lived. It cannot be occasional, it cannot be visited once a day like a fleeting hope. It must be your dwelling place, your emotional home, your default reaction. You must become so saturated in the state of the fulfilled desire that you forget you ever desired it in the first place. It becomes your natural identity. And when it does, reality bends to it without resistance. This is why results often come when you least expect them. Not because the process is random, but because the moment you stop yearning, the assumption is complete. The moment you stop needing, the state is accepted. The moment you stop looking for signs, the new reality has already rooted itself. You have crossed from seeking to being, and the world must mirror that shift. There may be delay in physical terms, but there is no delay in principle. The outer takes time to catch up with the inner, just as the sound of thunder follows lightning. The delay is not failure, it is fulfillment unfolding. But it only unfolds in response to what is fixed within. So you must ask yourself, what am I assuming day after day? What state am I faithfully occupying? You cannot assume abundance and worry about money. You cannot assume love and dwell in rejection. You cannot assume success and constantly explain your failures. Your words may claim one thing, but your feeling reveals the truth. This is why it is essential to be honest with yourself, not to judge, but to correct. If you catch yourself slipping back into the old state, gently return. No need to criticize, just return. Re-enter the feeling of already having. Make it your dominant mood. Let the tone of your inner conversations reflect your chosen identity. Eventually, the assumption becomes effortless. You no longer try to believe, it simply feels natural. You respond to the world as if you already are what you imagined. You speak from it, think from it, sleep in it, and the world aligns, not because you forced it, but because you lived it inwardly long enough. This is the quiet power of assumption. It does not make noise, it does not argue, it simply creates. Faithfully, patiently, precisely. The world is not resisting you, it is waiting for you to become clear. It is waiting for you to dwell in one state without wavering. And when you do, when you make the assumption your constant companion, the result is inevitable. It hardens into fact, not by chance, not by effort, but by law. The moment you change your inner state, truly change it, not by wish or force, but by assumption and feeling, a bridge of incidents begins to form. This bridge is not visible to the physical eye, nor does it always make sense to the rational mind. But it is there, silently connecting where you are now to the reality of your fulfilled desire. It is not something you must construct. It is already unfolding the instant you assume a new identity. Your task is not to design the bridge, but to trust it. Creation is finished. Every possibility already exists in the eternal now. Every version of your life, every outcome, every expression, every fulfilled state is already created. You do not bring it into existence by force. You enter into alignment with it by shifting your state of being. And once you have done so, the world begins to respond, not always in ways you can anticipate, but always in ways that are necessary for the new state to become your physical reality. You may not see the connection between what you feel today and what unfolds tomorrow. That does not matter. What matters is your willingness to remain in the new state and let the bridge build itself. Do not look for results. Do not chase signs. That only pulls you back into the old state of lack. Instead, walk through your day with quiet certainty, knowing that the bridge is being formed beneath your feet. Sometimes the bridge appears as opportunity. Other times it arrives as disruption. Something ends, someone leaves, a plan fails. And yet all of this is part of the unfolding. The old must make way for the new. The door you wanted to open may close, but only so the one that truly belongs to you can appear. The path to your desired state will rarely be straight, but it will be sure. Trust that. The unseen bridge is not about logic, it is about alignment. The people you need, the resources you lack, the moments of synchronicity, all of them are drawn to the frequency of your inner world. You don't have to figure out how it will happen. That is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to feel the end result now and remain loyal to that feeling, even when appearances say otherwise. There is a natural impatience that arises after you make a bold assumption. You want confirmation, you want results, but often the evidence comes in ways that seem unconnected. A delay, a detour, a conversation, an unexpected turn. This is the bridge doing its work. It rearranges circumstances, prepares people, creates situations you never could have planned. Your conscious mind could never orchestrate such perfection. But the unseen pattern behind all things moves with wisdom and precision. This is why faith is not just belief in something far off. It is the quiet knowing that what you feel inwardly must externalize, even if the path to its expression is beyond your comprehension. And often, the less you try to interfere with the process, the faster the bridge completes itself. Many sabotage their journey by doubting the first step. They assume a new state, feel the power of it, and then fall into fear when things appear unchanged. They dig up the seed to check its growth. They look to the world for signs of confirmation, forgetting that the signs follow the state, not the other way around. There is an intelligence in life that knows how to deliver your assumption into form. It speaks in events, it speaks through timing, it speaks through silence, but it always speaks. Your role is not to interpret the message, but to keep living from the end, to keep showing up as the version of yourself who already has what you imagine. When you feel tempted to doubt, remind yourself the bridge is building. When things seem to be falling apart, remember the bridge is building. When nothing appears to be happening, the bridge is still building. Life does not need your analysis. It needs your alignment. You do not climb toward your desire, you are carried to it. Every step, every person, every detail required for its manifestation is already known by the unseen intelligence that governs all. And your assumption, the state you dwell in, is what triggers the construction of that bridge. Sometimes the bridge will lead you through unfamiliar territory. You will be pulled into situations you would not have chosen, but afterward you will see everything was necessary. Nothing was wasted. Every step was part of the orchestration. What looked like a delay was protection. What felt like loss was repositioning. What appeared to be chaos was actually the most direct path to the life you claimed within. This is why the work must be done in silence, with humility and trust. You do not owe the world an explanation. You do not need others to believe with you. Let your inner world be your secret dwelling place. Let your feeling be the proof, and walk through your days as if everything is unfolding in your favor, because it is. The unseen bridge is not passive. It is not a concept. It is a living structure, guided by your persistent inner state. Do not change direction when results seem delayed. That only starts the process over again. Stay, rest, know. Let the unfolding surprise you. Let the bridge form on its own terms. In time, you will look back and marvel. You will see how one conversation led to another, how one decision opened a door, how one moment of faith changed the entire trajectory of your life. You will not be able to map it out logically, but you will know it was perfect. Because it always is when you trust the unseen bridge that rises beneath the feet of the one who walks by assumption and not by sight. The truth is simple yet profound. You create your world from the inside out. Every assumption, every thought, every feeling shapes the life you live. It's not the external world that defines you, it's your internal world, your state of being, your belief in the unseen that molds your experience. And once you understand this, once you grasp the power that resides within you, everything changes. You have the ability to assume the life you desire and to live in that assumption, no matter what the outer world tells you. The world is not acting on you, it is reflecting you. By changing your inner state, by persisting in the assumption of your desired reality, the outer must follow. It has no choice. You are the operant power. Trust the unseen forces that are constantly working on your behalf. Know that the bridge of incidents is being built beneath your feet, even when you cannot see it. Let your imagination shape the life you seek, and let your feelings anchor you in the reality of your desire already fulfilled. Walk in faith, not by sight, and the world will reshape itself to match your new state. There will be moments of doubt. There will be times when the old patterns rise up to challenge your faith. But remember, those challenges are simply evidence of the transformation you are undergoing. Persist in the new state, and soon the old story will fade away, replaced by the fulfillment of your vision. In the end, your assumption, if lived faithfully, will harden into fact. You are the creator of your reality, and the life you dream of is already within your reach. Stay faithful to your inner vision, trust the process, and watch as your world bends to meet the truth you have assumed. It is your world, it is your creation. Live in it, assume it, and it shall be done.